Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Confessions with KIYOKO&KANADE. I'm KANADE.
And I'm Kyoko.
And today we are going to discuss anime sidekicks. But quickly, before we discuss this new topic,
I just wanted to plug a really exciting new project that KANADE and I are doing. If you guys will look on a community post or on our latest videos, there's a form that you can fill out if any of you guys want to voice act in a really exciting new project we have coming up.
yeah, and quickly, if you guys want more content or early access to things, check out our Patreon, usually in the description of our video or in the about section, but also there's a Gmail in the about section for sending us scripts or any messages really to our Gmail. So, we're gonna kick it off with our anime sidekicks rant with my confession. So, my confession is that anime sidekicks can either be the most interesting and likable characters and the characters you watch for, or the most annoying. There's no in between.
I think that's true. I don't know, I guess there are some that might be a little more iffy, but I feel like most animes fit into that. Because most animes, it's sometimes a show can even be more famous for its side character than its main character. For example, I would say Bungo Stray Dogs. A lot of people know Dazai more.
Yeah.
They like him more than the main character. Why did I forget his name, guys? I watched it. Don't worry.
The dude with white gray hair.
Gray hair, yeah. But a lot of people know Dazai more, and he's just more recognizable.
I feel it's kind of there's a little bit of gray area for the shows where there are so many side characters, but usually when there's a show you can think of one or two main side characters. If you thought of My Hero Academia, you think the main two or three side characters are Todoroki, Bakugo, and the girl.
Uraraka.
I forgot the freaking Uraraka, right? So and you like all of them. Todoroki's cool. They're all really really good characters. And then there's Mineta. You know what I mean? There's no
and
in between.
And I guess for the more genre where I don't know, usually a guy is the main character and it's focusing more on him and they don't really care about the side characters. There's usually two girls with the most stereotypical behavior and they're nothing
That's
new.
That's true. I feel especially maybe shows Fairy Tail, there really is no in between because I either love your character or I'm
Die.
You suck. You know what I mean? Everyone in Fairy Tail, I'm wow, I'll support you fully. But then there's obviously villains or people who aren't the main villain, they still count as side characters. And usually I'm I hate you, please leave or die the next episode. I really don't care. You know what I mean? There's no really for me, there's no I can't think of one character where I'm oh yeah, he's okay. If I think that way about him, then I feel he hasn't shown up enough for me to actually have an opinion.
Yeah, I just don't like him.
Yeah, if they don't have any lines, then of course I'm gonna be yeah, he's fine. He's present. Doesn't mean anything though. You know what I mean?
He's on the sidelines.
Exactly. So all the side characters who do something, I either really like them or really don't like them. Even though I feel Mineta doesn't really do anything.
I mean,
he's part of their team, but he's weird. Every scene with him scares me.
A small tidbit, guys. I actually have a MHA calendar in my room, but I've been keeping it on the May month because it's the month with Todoroki's picture on it, and the one for July, so this month, is Mineta, and I absolutely refuse to have this guy hanging in my room. So I'm gonna wait until August because that's what's his name? I forget.
Electric Dude?
No, the one with red hair.
Momo? No, that's not Momo. Show me the picture.
It's
She's showing me her calendar right now, so I know which character she's talking about.
I can't ever remember their names.
Kirishima?
Yes.
Gosh.
I'm really bad with names for...
Really?
Yeah. But, I didn't forget him. It's just, I forgot his name.
I see. I like him, too, though. Kirishima, all of the... It's, a lot of side characters I either really love or really don't like you. Because, even the ones that are, they don't talk as much, they still have, the really good moments. Because, My Hero does that a lot where they, highlight one character per episode. And then you're yeah, go. You know what I mean?
Feel it comes to the point, down to the point of whether they're actually contributing or not, because obviously for example in Attack on Titan, each character means something, they bring something to the table. But if you watch more I don't know, for example some isekais where the girl is just there to exist and it just doesn't contribute to the story, so I think that's when it's oh, they either fully contribute something or they don't, and it's like, usually very strict on which categories.
I think AOT is pretty cool too because like the way, okay, spoiler alert first, if you haven't finished it, go finish it. But like since it like progresses from like, oh, they're evil and we're good, to like who's evil and who's good, it's like your opinion in the beginning can be like, I love Rainer, and then like when you finally find out that he's like the way he's not really on their side, you're like, oh, I have mixed feelings about Rainer.
Wait a second.
And then later on, he takes less of a like I'm evil or I'm good role, more like a I'm sad role.
I'm depressed.
Yeah, like he's like technically on the evil side, like he's presently physically on the evil side, but like he's just like
mentally
sad.
He's not on either, I feel like.
Yeah, mentally he's like in limbo. I feel like he's just like
confused.
Yeah, he's confused the entire time. But even shows like sport anime shows too, I hate like, not I hate, but like it's so hard to like, you cheer for the main character obviously because you're like, oh, I love the main character, but then like they'll show the backstory of every single character. I'm like, what?
Sometimes I'm sad, but most of the time I don't care for sports ones because
oh, I see.
When you're watching like battle ones or like Demon Slayer or something, and the person who loses has a really sad backstory and they die, that's when I get sad. But for sports anime, they're like, I've been training my entire life, and it's just like, oh, you just lost. But
they were just talking about like how like in for Blue Lock, it wasn't just like a you lost the game. It was like a you're not gonna come back in like the soccer scene. Like that's their dream, right? It's basically like they're dying. You know,
Blue Lock is a very intense. It's like I would say like the most intense sports one because it's obviously a different atmosphere. A lot of sports ones focus on like team building and how it's like slice of lifey, where Blue Lock kind of feels like it's like a battle royale but with like soccer, you know what I'm saying? So I guess it's different because I guess I'm just saying that like a lot of sports animes I think have the more like relaxed slice of life thingy, so I don't feel as like sad for them when they like lose. But the ones that are like that, like they're very intense, like it feels like a battle royale kind of thing. Like even with soccer, legit that kind of atmosphere makes it more sad because they're like, this is everything to them. And then when I watch like a really slice of life one, they're like, my dad trained me from when I was a child, but I lost this game. Anyways, you know what I mean?
But what do you think about like for example Free? I really liked it because like it wasn't just situated into like one moment or like you know Blue Lock is just like it's Blue Lock. They're like in the thing like at that point, right? At the point where the anime is. But like for Free, it's like they're actually doing games and like they get like the, oh, is it realistic for me to go into like swimming? Do you know what I mean? Like the actual like actual life. Sports, yeah, like the life aspect of like, do I go into it as like a professional person or do you know what I mean? Because it makes it so much more like you feel bad for them because you get to see them giving up their dream. Like for Makoto, right? In Free, he really wanted to swim, but then he saw the reality that like everyone was like better than him, even though he wasn't bad. It's just like there's always someone better than you, right? So he decided to like, I'm not gonna do it professionally, I'm gonna like help other people, which is like I think really really like
suits him.
It suits him, but like that's such a sad thing for like, and it's literally, I know it's just because he's a side character, like, you know what I mean? Like I know that like Haru is the main character and everything, so like obviously he'll be the one, if anyone, to like pursue it professionally, but like it's kind of sad because you just see all these side characters being like, I'm not as good as the main character.
I think it's kind of sad in that aspect because it kind of feeds the idea that like you can't be the main character like in a general sense, like even like in a show or like in a general like mental like way if you're not like the best, like if you're not like, oh, if you had to give up on your dreams, that means like you should have just been better, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the kind of sad thing. I think that a lot of sports anime are really cool at really showing the whole like teamwork aspect of things, but when it gets really brutal, that's when I think it's like really sad in that way.
Yeah, I agree. Because like it's kind of sad though, because it's like obviously the main character will have like plot armor, so then all these side characters are just going through it. Like I swear every single side character's like backstory, like let's just talk about My Hero for a second, right? All like maybe some of their like Todoroki's, obviously his backstory is really really sad, and yes, Deku's like one is sad, but it's not like it kind of attributes to like the plot, right? Like in the way that, what's it called, like I mean, spoiler alert, but like the guy who like says you don't have a quirk is like the guy who works for like them, the bad side,
Yeah.
right? And then like Todoroki just has mommy and daddy issues for like some of the side plots. For like some of the side plots, like yeah, I know that like his dad becomes number one hero once Might like blah 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 after All Might like gets skinny, you know.
Whoa.
I'm kidding, right? But like that doesn't like that's not because of Todoroki's bad backstory. Like they just gave them bad backstories, just like you have issues. With Mizuki who like, oh, once you discover that, you're like, oh, this means everything to the plot. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of sad. Like they just get the bad backstories, just like that's bad. Like when you're like,
I mean, sometimes it attributes to the plot, and I'm sure that it comes in a lot later. But I guess it's also the fact that like they made it a big deal because Todoroki had major trust issues.
Yeah.
But then when he met someone like Deku, it meant a lot to him because they were able to click, and he hasn't had something like that in a while.
I feel like whenever there's like a side character that has like a really sad backstory, like, oh, my whole clan is dead, but like one survived. It's always like they're the villain, but they're not the main villain. They're like a villain that comes in mid-season
and then just dies.
They die and then
like whatever.
That's it. Like either that or like, oh, the main character, they're like somehow related to like the people that killed the side character's parents, and they take like 10 episodes to get over that. Do you know what I mean?
And they're like, we're good.
Yeah, like I won't like blood relations means nothing, but then in the beginning they're like, I'll never forgive you. But I'm like, where did this go? I swear I've seen this in so many animes that are like less mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But like, it's a very it happens all the time. Okay, we are gonna go to Kyoko's confession, which is a little bit more specific for like anime. Like I said something really general, but yeah. You wanna say your confession?
Yeah, so my confession for like anime sidekicks is I think that Haikyuu has some of the best side characters in like anime in general, right?
In anime in general.
Obviously this is an opinion, and I haven't seen like every single anime. So if you have one that you think has better side characters, then you're probably right in your opinion. You know what I mean?
Do you think My Hero has better side characters or Haikyuu?
I would say they're really different, but I think the reason why I really liked Haikyuu was that in a general sense, like when you watch MHA, you love all the characters, but it's very clear who's the main character. Do you know what I mean? Everything is happening around Deku, and it just makes sense, and you are more excited to watch parts about Deku than any other characters, right? Because it's like around him. Even though you can like have your favorite side characters and stuff, most of the plot just is centered around him, and like all the villains are trying to get him, that kind of thing. But I think what I really appreciated about Haikyuu was when I was watching in a general sense, especially when we got to the later seasons, it genuinely felt to me like I wasn't watching a show with a protagonist, but just like a main team. I feel like each of their personalities and pasts and backgrounds were very like fleshed out to the point where like at points I was even more excited to see things from other characters than from like Hinata or Kageyama, and I think I found that very interesting, and the way that they did it too, because if we had started from a point where they were already like the best in the nation or whatever, like they won nationals, it wouldn't feel the same.
That's not the same.
The fact that they grew from nothing, but but like from a very beginning point, it feels like you know each of the characters very well. I think it helped the show a lot and made each character really seem like they were their own thing. Like it wasn't just like, oh, we're revolving around like Hinata and Kageyama the entire time, because obviously they had their moments, but there were even moments where like literally each of the characters had their own points in the show where like they had their little training session.
They're like unmotivated,
but they had their little like moment of, oh, I want to bring this to the team, and I could like confidently say that I know that story for each of them. Whereas for like MHA, obviously they're they'll show the moments, right? But at the end of the day, for some characters I'll be like, I do not care about your flashback, can we get back to the story? For some characters I obviously care more, but I think Haikyuu just did a good point of just being like, they're all like not, how do I say this, none of them are like more special than the other, but they're all just trying their best in a team, and it worked really well, I think.
Yeah, I think that's something like really like unique about sports animes, because usually there's like the one guy, they're like
he's unbeatable. Do you know what I mean? He's the center. He's the
I don't know.
like,
I don't know if that's. I think it depends for like more like sidekicky ones where like they're not side characters, they're like legit sidekicks. Like think of like hero ones or like magic ones. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like more clear, like Happy to Natsu in Fairy Tail. He's a sidekick. He's not like. Do you know what I mean? He's like his. He's like his sidekick. More like Natsu would be like he's my friend, but like he's like he has a little cat that talks. Like that's your sidekick. Do you know what I mean?
If it's an animal, it's a sidekick.
I feel like the difference, I think that between like Haikyuu and like shows like Fairy Tail is that for like Haikyuu, right? Obviously it's not as long, so they have like shorter amount of time to like show off each character, which is something like they aim to do, and then that they did, right? But for Fairy Tail, it was like, okay, Natsu's the main character, but then each of them like brings something. Do you know what I mean? Like Lucy brought the whole arc about how her dad tried to get her back, and then like that one guild that had Gajiel. I don't remember their name, but like
Phantom. No, it was
not Fat. It was like
I remember.
You know what I'm talking about?
I mean,
it's like that. It's that arc about when they try to get her back.
Episode 22.
Yeah, and then so she brings that arc, and then even Happy brings like the whole like endless arc,
when they're,
and
like,
then
in the sky.
yeah, and then Urza brings the whole like the thing with
Tower of Heaven.
The Tower of Heaven arc. Like they all bring their own like Wendy. She even came from the arc with like the Irration Seis, right? So like they all kind of explore it more. Like you kind of explore like Lucy doesn't want to just be the girl who's like, oh, I'm gonna live off of riches. Like I just want to do my own thing, even if I'm not rich, even though that's something she's like super used to. And then Urza, right? You just see her as someone who's really strong, but then you get to see why she had to become strong. She didn't just like start off being like lucky that she had a really good like power, right? She like grew up with like all her friends died. Like she didn't have parents, and then like years later she's just trying to have a vacation, and then like a bunch of them are like, let's take them back, and then she sees someone who she really trusted like completely on the wrong side. Like that's something like really, like how do you deal with that, right? Like someone you really trusted, they're all of a sudden like, I'm actually like the top of the bad side. You know what I mean? And like even Natsu, like all like the dragon slayers, right? They brought the whole fact that like that's literally like the main plot like around it, right? Is that like they had to go back in time because what was that one? Acnologia? Is that what his name? Acnologia?
I don't think it's
It's like
Arc.
That's not Arc.
Arcanologia.
Is it not Acnologia? Okay, it sounds like that though. It sounds like something Logia.
I know it's like something Logia.
Sure, so it's Acnologia, but it's not Acnologia. Wait, I need to search this up.
Analogia?
Wait.
Analogia?
Dragon?
I don't think you're gonna get anything from Dragon in
Fairy Tail Immortal Dragon. Why is there fan fiction coming up? Acnologia! I literally told you!
I feel like you're saying it wrong though.
Anyways, Acnologia, right? Like no one can literally defeat him, so they send him back in time hoping that they would get strong enough to defeat him eventually, right? That's such a cool thing, and then like they're looking for their dragons the whole time, but the dragons were in them. That's why in the Thunder.
That was such a weird plot twist. I was so confused.
Like the Thunder Legion or whatever, like when Loxus was like evil with his like 3 other people, right? That's why they like put an age thing, a border around like Fairy Tail, like the guild, right? And then they couldn't leave. It's not because they were old, but because the dragons in them were obviously like really, really old, right? So like they each bring their own thing to like the table. Do you know what I mean? But because they have more time, it's not like in one season they each get their moment to shine. It's like they literally bring the arc to Fairy Tail. Like they bring the problem in a way, but like the way that like they obviously get stronger. Cause like I love the endless arc when like they finally found all like the crystals were them and they started breaking the crystals and it was them. Do you know what I mean? Like
I'm so
what? How do you not remember?
Like not. I obviously remember a lot of things. There's like very specific details that I need to rewatch because I rewatched like a specific part. So like those parts I know really well, but just I don't know. There are obviously arcs I like more than the others, and I have not rewatched those ones.
I've only rewatched up to like the endless arc, but like I remember a lot of things.
I always rewatch the like Lucy Heartfilia arc, the Grand Magic Games arc, and the
You have to rewatch the later seasons.
I just don't like.
Oh my gosh.
I know like Urza's arc is really cool, but I just haven't rewatched it because it creeped me out. Like,
oh, do you remember the last arc when like Xerath was like there, and then oh my gosh, that was such a good arc. Yeah, me too. I read, and I also watched like a combination. But I think
scary.
I
was
the
scared.
You were scared.
I was scared of the villains. They were so creepy.
I remember that one villain that he said he could do every magic possible, but it was in reality he was just copying.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah. And then Kana figured that out, and like she's like a side character, right? But then she like brings her own thing. She'd like help defeat one of like the biggest like villains to help them, right? Even though like compared to like dragon slaying, you think her magic isn't as cool, right? Because it's like cards or something.
Cards.
Yeah, it's like cards, but then she's still, even though she's a side character, doesn't mean she can't do something really, really important that like typically a main character would do. Do you know what I mean? So like I think Fairy Tail does that in a way that like every single person has some backstory, and then they bring something to like the table of like, who do we defeat next, or who do we have a problem with now? Do you know what I mean? So it's like they just have they have so much more episodes to like have room for that though. They have like a lot of episodes. I don't know how I watched them all, but
it's like 300 something.
300?
Yeah.
Even with the new ones, I remember?
I think so. I think it's like, because I remember when I was watching the really like new episodes, like the titles would be like episode 300 like 57 and I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the next segment, which is a subscriber's confession. So,
we're totally voice actors, guys.
Yeah, totally. M Sterling 28 says, hot take: in most romance/harem anime, the sidekick/best friend is often a more fleshed out character than the main character, and often a better character. I'm trying to think specifically for like romance and harem ones.
I think I can agree with this for some. I'm trying to think of like examples, but a lot of the time in like a romance one, I guess, they always try to make the main guy be a certain way. They're usually like this cold, cool guy, especially if it's one more catered towards like girls. Like they try to make the main character like this cool, like, for example, I would say in like Maid-sama, that one, Usui is just like this cool, everybody likes him but nobody can get him kind of guy, right? Which is obviously, that's just a good role for a male lead in a romance one, but sometimes that trope can be overused and they're not like quote unquote interesting. Do you know what I mean? Because I've seen a lot of like romance ones where the guy just fits that bill and it focuses more on the girl, but then that's basically it. Like the side characters are usually more entertaining to watch because the male lead person, especially in harem animes, they're very like, I also the guy's just like cool and but he's like not really like that interesting, and as they said, like fleshed out.
I also think for a lot of romance ones, they like give the main girl one personality trait and then they leave it at that. Like legitimately for like Maid-sama, right? They give her the thing that she's like studious and she like, that's it though. Like she's like
boys.
like she's like strict and everything, and that's like all of her actions are based off of that, right? And then I'm trying to think of another one. Like for Bunny Girl Senpai, they just give the fact that she's outspoken and pretty. That's literally it. Like she's not like, she'll say things like out of pocket, but like it's fine because
it's
like
funny though, because I'll say these things about these characters and I'll eat it up every time because
I'll just be there like, I'm watching.
Like I'll be like, oh, the male lead is cold and boring, and I'm like, that is my type. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who cares? You know?
I don't. Yeah, as long as it like makes sense. Do you know what I mean? As long as like nothing irrational happens, I'm like, you can like feed me the most like
the trope,
nonsensical things as long as it like I can kind of justify it in my head. Like, oh, she did this really stupid thing because you know what I mean?
Feel like in a general sense, it's kind of funny because we'll talk about all this stuff for anime, but I don't really think I have like high standards in a way.
Oh,
like,
that's not good.
Like if it makes sense and I'm enjoying it, I don't see a need to get so critical about watching.
I think it depends on the genre too, because like if I'm watching something like Death Note or AOT, that's like, it's supposed to be like smart, analytical. Like if you're supposed to be like, the characters are smart and it's presented in like a very like logical way. So like you're supposed to kind of like analyze it and try to find out more about the plot, especially for Death Note, right? Because the whole thing is based on like, I'm smart and you're also smart, let's be smart together, but like I want to be smarter than you
and kill you.
You know what I mean? That too. But like for romance ones, you're not supposed to like analyze like, he said this, that means like, that no means it's not
according to my calculations.
Yeah, it's like, it depends on the genre.
Like it's just meant to be something you enjoy, and
it's not supposed to be like, oh, if there's plot holes, it's literally a romance anime, like based
I
in
know,
high school,
sometimes
like
I see
chillax.
people like dissect some anime and be like, this
Sorry.
is so weird and bad and blah blah blah, and like all these things don't make sense and here's why. And sometimes I'm just like,
I don't care.
right, like that does not matter to me when I'm watching the show, especially since if you really want to get that critical about it, there are like a million more anime that are worse than the ones they're like describing, right?
Those are just really bad animes that like usually they're not as known because like obviously like
No one's gonna watch
at this
them if
point
they're bad.
at this point where anime is blown up so much and that there's so much of it, a lot of it just tends to be high quality because the demand is so high for good ones now, and it's like they've been making it for like a while now. So like even shows from like 2010 are really really good and they stay good and they're just there, right? But there's like obviously like lower budget ones where you're like watching and you're like, why did I watch this again? Because you're like, nothing makes sense. The voice acting is weird. And then it's always the dub. Sometimes they just mess up that dub, guys. It's
Have
like
you guys seen that on like TikTok and like Instagram?
that
Where, like,
one
show
anime.
really bad dubs and they make me laugh. Like, if you, what's that?
No, don't go. I was like,
What's that one that everyone like the ghost one?
that one is funny.
That one's hilarious. I can't.
That one is only funny because they weren't like paid a lot to do that one, so they just were allowed to do whatever they wanted. Honestly, they took more of a like a 2010 approach because like if you were to say those things in this age, that would not fly. But like,
But if you guys ever want to laugh, just search it up. I forget. It's like a
oh
ghost.
my gosh,
Ghost something anime.
it's
dub.
something about a bunny. I don't even know what's happening.
No, I remember that one. That one was bad.
And like they gave the bunny like a really low voice, so it doesn't match. So the whole time I'm like laughing. It was like the girl's like hi, he's like hi. And I'm like, what is happening? Okay. We're gonna move on to the subscribers question segment. So I do not know how to say this username. So something machine 9173. I will put it in the description, but yes. They asked, my question for the anime sidekicks is, who would you like to have standing next to you on an incredible journey?
I guess it depends on what journey. Because if I'm like going out on an adventure to like defeat a whole evil person, I would want someone strong, right? But if like, but if they just mean like in casual life, I guess that's different. But I'm just gonna go with the first option. It would have to be a side character though, right?
Yes.
I don't know. It's kind of a hard. That's hard because it's like out of everyone,
A side character?
okay. I'm just gonna say, maybe Levi from Attack on Titan, just because I think he's
Levi?
strong in like the. He's like one of the strongest characters in the non like magical sense. You know what I mean? Like if we're gonna go, you know, people get to whole debates on who's stronger, like with a magical power, you guys. But assuming that in my quote unquote incredible adventure there is no magic or powers, I think he's a good person to have because he's smart. He's like one of the leaders in an army, so he has that very like tactical and like sharp-minded sense, and he's just like physically fit, I guess, and like stronger in that way. Maybe not in the later seasons, but
like he doesn't have some fingers.
like in the beginning, I would say him. And plus, I think he would just be comfortable to be around because he's not like really loud and annoying.
I think I have two. Like, if it was just everyday life, as in like I don't have to be strong in this moment, I want it happy because he's so funny. Like genuinely, and he can fly. He's always carrying knots, so I want to fly. So like happy because he'd be so funny.
How buff do you think?
Apparently they're supposed to be really strong.
Because how is he carrying?
And then if it was like a world where like I'm trying to like do my best, so they have to be smart, powerful, Karo Sensei, because he's literally the strongest and he's literally so smart. He's teaching all these kids, and also like the government can't even kill him. Like they can't even try because the government can't even kill him because like they've been trying. They hired a whole class. Like, can you kill this teacher, please? And like they still couldn't do it. So like think about it. If he can like fly like Mach 30, I'm not getting hurt on this magical adventure. Like I'm literally fine. And he's funny. Like
I feel like though
you know what I mean?
In your life and you just like make one mistake and you'd be like, this is a valuable lesson.
Yeah, but then at least you get smart on your way, and then he's nice too, because he's still like, it's a valuable lesson, blah blah blah. But he still disciplines like his students too, right? So in a way of like, you'll come out of this adventure better if you're with Kuro Sensei. You know?
Sure.
Okay, lastly, we're gonna give a shout out to
Why are you making me pronounce this? WDinATX. I'm just gonna spell it. I feel like that's better than me.
Shout out to you. Thank you for commenting your hot take or your question down below. We would like to say really quickly thank you to our Patreon people. And do you want to plug the project one more time?
Yeah, guys, go check out the project we're doing. It's kind of like hush hush right now, but I think it'll be really interesting, and there's already a lot of people who've like submitted, and I think you never know what you can do until you try. So I think you guys should definitely, if you are interested in voice acting, just try it out, and yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so look forward to our upcoming videos. Episodes of Confessions with Kyoko and Kanade come out every week. So look forward to that. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye!